You know what the greatest disappointment in my life has been so far?
What?
Big Cheez-It? Not that big.
No, not that cheese. Arguably.
Yeah, not really that cheese.
And I wasn't really getting a Pennywise vibe from the big cheese it.
Yeah, I was getting more of like a square kind of nickel dumb.
That's fine. We'll cut that joke and just end on mine. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scurvivor series, the final episode of season 46. I'm your host, Ryan Knightsey. With me, as always, is the beautiful, the lovely Jesse Dubiaski.
Hi, howdy.
We're late on this one, too, folks. Why were we late on this time around, Beanie?
You're never going to guess.
We were sick again.
Y'all are never going to guess. We got sick. For all you keeping score, I don't know. Let me know how many we're at for this whole run of this podcast.
Yeah, we got sick again for like this time it wasn't the flu, it was the cold. Mm-hmm. You had it for maybe like a week. I had it first, and then I still kind of have it. But my cold transformed into like a post-nasal drip.
Gross.
Continuous post-nasal drip. And what is it? Cough thrush? No, what
Oral
is it?
thrush?
Oral thrush.
From they gave you an inhaler for your bronchitis.
Yeah.
And it
Last
gave
time around, they gave me an inhaler that had steroids in it for my bronchitis, and I was using it to help my cough this time around for the cold. The problem is I used it too much, which gave me oral thrush, and now my tongue looks like Casper the Ghost.
Gross.
So
that's in case anyone was really wanting all that info. Mm-hmm. There you have it.
Thrush, of course, being a thrash metal band, cover band of the band Rush.
Nice.
Which sounds pretty good.
It actually does sound kind of fun.
But yeah, we're here. It's June, so that means we're queer. So get used to it. Because we chose that.
God. Let's cut you off.
Yeah, that turned way too political. Am I on? Testing. Oh, I think I was on the entire time.
I think so. I could hear you.
Yeah, I think it was on the entire time. My thing was muted, so I don't really know.
Well,
but I heard it, and I picked it up, so I'm confused. Anyways, season 46, we're talking about this, the final episode of season 46. We're going to talk about, of course, what happened on this finale episode, the winner of Survivor season 46, the runners-up, and some of the drama that has happened post-show, and, of course, the Scurvivor series winner of season 46, who had the best Scurvivor series team. So I think without further ado, we got a jam-packed show for you all. And let's get into it. But we'll start off top saying that I don't think this finale episode was all that exciting up until like the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think this did not really encompass the entertainment we have been getting.
Agreed.
For this season.
For better or for worse, it was kind of bland.
Yeah, it was.
It would have been
fine.
exciting if Maria won, but then it would have been Maria would have won the whole thing, so it would have been less exciting. But it would have been something. It would have been fun if like Maria won and then Ben won, and then it's like, oh, Maria's going to go out at fire, and there's drama there, and then it's like, then who wins?
Yeah.
Here it was sort of like, oh, if Maria doesn't, we talked about this in our preview of last week's episode. If Maria doesn't win, she's going home. And, well, I guess we'll just go right off the bat. The episode basically starts off with some dialogue, but we go straight into the immunity challenge with the reward of Italian food at Sanctuary. You have to race.
Oh, we're not even going to talk about the dialogue?
You can if you like.
The Maria trying to pretend like she was baited into.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point of dialogue.
This is another thing of like Maria trying to save face when like it just makes her look worse.
She's doing damage control.
Terribly.
Wait. Are you referencing not the Applebee's reward, but the rock, paper, scissors thing where she's like trying to come off like saving face?
Yeah.
But in actuality, she just looks worse than she does before.
And this is like she's playing it like she was baited. She's told Charlie she was baited into voting him. But like he knows that's such bullshit.
Yeah. She knows she messed up and she's trying to blame everybody else. And Charlie's like, no.
No. Like.
Because he knew what was happening because he was doing that to her.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway.
But yeah. But ultimately, then we get to the immunity challenge.
Well, I had another.
Yeah.
This is another Maria weird comment. She said, "Y'all are playing much harder than I thought."
Oh yes.
Like, okay. I think Liz was the one that was like kind of insulted by that. I would have been.
Yeah.
I don't know. She probably didn't mean it as an insult, but like, okay, okay, Maria. Like, gee, thanks. You just thought that I've been not playing this game at all, which I mean is fair for in Liz's case and Ben's case, but because like their games, if they have one, are not very visible. Mm-hmm. But I mean that was kind of like kind of harsh.
Liz may disagree with that, but
yeah, I don't understand. Somebody please explain that to me.
It's a rough move to say at the very end, going in the final five of, oh, you guys are actually playing this game. Like, okay, condescending much?
Yeah, like I liked Maria, but like. Dang, girl. Maybe, like, don't say everything that comes to your brain.
Agreed. So, are we all good?
Yes.
Now we get to the immunity challenge. You have to race through some obstacles, draw a bridge, grab a key, unlock a puzzle, to then solve the puzzle, to then get a code for a lock. Solve that and win. Marie and Charlie get the lead. Both draw their bridge first. Liz forgets her key when she ultimately draws her bridge. Kenzie solves the puzzle at the very end. She goes to celebrate and then remembers, oh crap, this isn't the end. There's one more part. She's trying to solve the thing. She sees the plank and she gets all confused. Liz comes over, looks at it, and is like, oh, the plank. Liz then runs back, grabs Kenzie's plank that is needed for this code at the end. Maria ultimately gets the second person, so she's able to solve the puzzle second, run back and get the plank. But Liz is able to help Kenzie here, and ultimately, which helps Kenzie win the immunity challenge. And she ultimately picks Ben for the reward after the fact. So, many things to unpack here. Liz helping Kenzie to get the win. Maria does not get the win here, so she's undoubtedly going home in the final five here.
Definitely.
A controversial thing that happened that I saw online is the idea of Liz helping Kenzie with her puzzle. The question being, should that be allowed?
People have helped people before. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if you choose to give up on your own thing, like you give up immunity to like help somebody else, I mean...
I think one of the big controversial statements is walking over and actively touching, grabbing, and moving another person's part of the puzzle. What would have stopped Liz from also going to Maria's plank and chucking it into the ocean?
Well, that obviously wouldn't have been allowed.
Sure. Sure.
Jeff would have probably stopped everybody. Mm-hmm. But... I mean, I kind of get it.
Is it the sort of rule of cool where you sort of let the gray area happen?
Yeah. Like if you're helping somebody and not hindering, like if it seemed like it was like agreed upon. Like Liz, it seemed like in the way that Kenzie was talking about it afterwards, like Liz probably said like, "Can I help you?" Mm-hmm. Or something like that. Or there was an agreement. Like, it wasn't just, like, Liz jumping in and... Because then you could get into the argument that if someone just jumped in and started helping, they could get in the way and, like, you know, interfere with something. But it seemed like it was, like, agreed. Like, she accepted the help.
I got two things for you. Mm-hmm. Number one, Charlie saying after the fact that according to the rules, they are told that they cannot go back after they solve the puzzle, go back to their... whatever part of the puzzle that they'll need to go back to until they finish their own puzzle. So by Liz going back and getting Kenzie's plank, she's not actually breaking the rule, because the rule is that she can go and get her stuff until she figures the puzzle.
Yeah, but Kenzie's puzzle was finished, so Kenzie's plank could be moved.
Yes. The question is, should it be by Kenzie specifically or Liz? Jeff said on his podcast that, Jeff Probst, of course, said that he allowed it obviously in the moment, but if Liz paused and asked if she can do this, he would have to make a judgment then and there, and he said that he would probably not allow her to do that. But in the moment, it made for good television, so who cares? I wouldn't be shocked if moving forward...
There's like a rule about it.
Yeah, there's a rule where you cannot do that again. Also, by the way, we skipped over Liz, because of my speed, I skipped over Liz walking like a grandma to the beach.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fun little spot. But yeah, so it means that Kenzie gets the win. Maria does not get the win. And then we get sort of the camp. Everyone's basically agreeing that it's Maria. And the conversation Maria is trying to have is pitching Ben to Kenzie. And Kenzie's like, I'm sure I can beat you. I don't know if I can beat you, Maria, so I have to get you out. Then Maria pitches Ben to Liz. Liz is slightly convinced, but still unsure. But ultimately, one person, and Charlie's going to get out Maria, even though Maria thinks Charlie's with her. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah, and I mean...
She's grasping at straws here, basically.
Yeah, for sure. She's desperate. And, like... It's funny how, like, I know she didn't end up voting Ben, but Liz is, like, the only gullible one in this scenario. Because it's, like, of the 5 of them...
Agreed.
I feel like Maria was the only guaranteed win.
Agreed.
The only one that if she made it to the final 3, she would win.
Yeah, I think
Charlie and Kenzie, like, both had really good... chances,
but they would need some convincing.
They would need to convince people, obviously, as we saw, them to pick them over the other person if the two of them are sitting next to each other. So, like, Maria's obviously the target. Like, she's the only one who, if she made it to 3, would win.
Yes,
for sure.
Agreed.
Against anybody there. So I don't know. It's interesting how Liz is kind of like, well, I see your point. And you're like, no, Liz. Like, you don't see her point. You're just gullible.
Is there anyone Maria could have pitched instead that would have had a better impact? A more plausible thing? If she went around to the beach saying, we have to vote out Charlie.
I don't know if you could do Charlie again, because then that just seems like, oh, Maria's trying to get out her number 1 again. But I think maybe Kenzie. Like, I think pitching Charlie coming from Maria feels like a distraction tactic because, you know, it's the classic, like, oh, Maria would just have a feather in her cap getting out her number 1, whatever.
Yeah.
Pitching Kenzie, I think, is more a common enemy in a way, though, because Kenzie is everyone's friend, so I don't know.
We get to tribal council. The conversation's basically, it's going to be Maria. Even Jeff allows Maria to give her final closing statement before we get to the vote.
I loved how proud Tiff was to see Kenzie walk in with the immunity necklace. Like, that was just a little heartwarming.
Good friends right there.
BFFs.
Good friends right there. The vote happens. Maria goes home 4-1 with everybody voting Maria and Maria voting on Ben as her plan installed. I did like here that Ben calls Maria Lieutenant Mom, which is a callback to the nicknames that they gave each other in episode 1, maybe 2 on Sega's Tribe. And while she leaves, Maria gets a standing O from the final 4. And she gets
full hugs.
And full hugs from the final 4.
I think she's the first one to get full hugs.
Full honor hugs.
Full honor hugs. Do you think Maria should have played her shot in the dark?
I don't think she can at Final 5. I'm not positive, but I don't believe you can at Final 5. I mean, if she could, yes. If she could, of course, you have to.
Yeah.
But I don't think she can. Any other things? I think we're on the postmortem of Maria. I'm keeping us moving, by the way, folks. I don't know if you can tell. I'm keeping us moving. We're already 15 minutes in, and we got a lot more episode to get to. Is there any? Let's talk about postmortem of Maria. How do you think Maria's game was? What could she have done better? Where did she screw up? What could she have done to maybe help herself? I think she was, like we said, a very strong person. I think I agree with you that, like, if she was able to make it to the final 3, she's the winner.
Yeah.
Why do I feel that way? I think she has a good social game. She's very strategic, and I don't think her social game is as good as her strategy game or as good as her physicality, because winning all those individual immunity awards were fantastic. Winning 3 is fantastic. And if she was able to win a 4th, that bumps her up even more. But so to that point, I think she has good strategies and good physical play and a good social game on top of that. She was the MVP for us for many episodes. Mm-hmm. She helped move a lot of votes. She was a good whip and helped move a lot of votes with Charlie against a lot of different people. Did she falter by going with Q? I guess that's the question. If she didn't go with Q and just didn't lean into that and kept going with Charlie, could she have lasted longer? Or was that the moment where you were working with Q, that soured you on everybody else, and that allowed Charlie to convince everybody, let's vote out Maria, to set up this vote happening here?
I don't know if it would have been much different, because with Q gone, who's the next target? It's Maria.
True.
And like after she stole the TIFF vote, I think a lot was coming her way. Mm-hmm. I think she honestly lasted longer than she would have by teaming up with Q, because she intentionally kept him around knowing everyone hated him.
Yeah.
And no one wanted him around. Because he was a vote for her, mm-hmm. but also he was a shield. Like, mm-hmm. I think, yes, that was the fuel for Charlie finally convincing people to turn on her. But I honestly think that would have happened sooner without Q.
I think it's plausible.
Because she doesn't have a shield. She's making big moves. She stole the TIFF vote. I think Kenzie would have...
It's possible that Maria would have used Q as a smokescreen yet again to get Maria out mm-hmm. at that Q vote, whatever number that was.
Because they're all in agreement that Q's got to go. He's probably not going to win an immunity challenge. You can get him after you get Maria.
Yeah.
But I think getting immunity multiple times helped her, and also I think teaming up with Q and using him as a shield, keeping him around longer, but when people were already irritated with him.
I guess also, to be fair, like, she would have gone home that episode instead of Q if she didn't win immunity. Yeah. Like, her best thing was being great at challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good job, Maria.
Yeah.
Would you like to see Maria come back?
Yeah, I would like to see Maria. I liked Maria. I think, there were flaws in her game. I don't think that, I think she
peaked a little too early.
Yeah.
Was
a little too visible, little too early. But I enjoyed Maria. I would like to see her on a whatever All Stars or whatever thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun. All right, we get to the post Maria vote, final 4. I have a quote here from Liz. Holy hot dog on a stick.
Holy hot dog on a stick.
According to Liz. The sort of theme also sets you up here that Ben wakes up from anxiety again, and it's a lot of conversation about how his anxiety and night terrors has not been great for him. And another thing I want to note here is that Liz talks about how she's worried about the fire making because she has bad wrists. There's something about her tendons in her wrists don't allow her, and they're very cracky. It makes it very difficult for her to make fire.
I have this weird condition. Yeah, Liz, of course you do.
Yeah, she just started talking about a weird condition.
She goes, I have this weird condition. I'm like, yeah, you do.
Of course you do.
Shortly after that, though, she does say that she's a huge threat.
Yes, and her reasoning for it, which we can have the conversation about. But her big reasons for why she thinks she's a big threat in this game is that she's played a perfect game. She's had no votes on her at all. And there are 4 Nami on jury.
Yeah, but none of them liked her.
Yes, that's the problem. That's the
Except
big
for,
hole.
Was it like Hunter at the end who kind of was...
Begrudgingly, because Hunter was going home. It's the sort of thing of, that is correct, and you can try to sway them if you want, but I don't think any of them would see you as much of a big thing. The perfect game is interesting because it does prove that how little she was on the radar for everybody. And if she can talk that up as the bigger thing of, I played a perfect game, no one saw me as a threat, and now I'm here at the final 3, surely there's the thing in someone's mind of, well, then she did something, right? You know?
Yeah, I just don't think that she was definitely... Like, well, she said, I think when she was on the jury, like, I would have won if I was sitting there. Mm-hmm. I don't think you would have. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be honest. There's probably a lot we didn't see, but at the same time, like, I don't think you would have, Liz.
Yeah, I don't think she would have either. But we'll talk about that more in a moment. But those are the 2 themes here we're setting up here, that Liz thinks she's a massive threat, and Ben suffering again from night terrors constantly. We get to the immunity challenge. You have to solve a Survivor puzzle. But there's a Plinko board behind everybody. You basically have to throw a ball way up. The ball is going to go down the Plinko board, and you have to catch the ball before it touches the bottom. And then you can catch the ball, throw it back up, and while it's falling down on that Plinko board, you solve that puzzle. If it touches the bottom, you then have to stand there and wait, not solving your puzzle, as it slowly but surely crawls over so slowly to your hands at the bottom there, and then you can go do the Plinko board yet again. Just tragically slow. Charlie's the first one that screwed this up. Liz drops her ball because she has terrible wrists. Kenzie throws her ball into the ocean. Charlie fails again. Liz as well. And the only person that doesn't fail, who mentioned how extremely tired and out of it they were because of all the night terrors before this challenge, the only person that never fails at this challenge and nails it is Ben. Ben gets the win. I'm
so proud of him. We started, when this challenge came up, you were like, who would you want to win? I was like, I would like to see Ben win. Mm-hmm. And he did. I'm so proud of him.
It was a nice little cap off for his Survivor run.
Yeah. Like, Yeah. I'm proud of him. I totally would have been like Kenzie. I think I said before they even started, at some point I would have launched my ball, like, to the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And then Kenzie actually did it. I was like, so it's possible.
Yeah, you would have thrown your ball, like, extremely way too hard because of the adrenaline and everything.
Listen, I'm not good at the throwing sports. I'm good at the catching, the lifting, the running, the kicking. Mm-hmm. I can do everything else. The throwing sports, not my jam.
Yeah. They almost need to put a cage on top of it, but then you lose the look.
Yeah, but, yeah, I mean, yeah, I would have definitely thrown it farther than Kenzie.
Yeah.
Probably actually into the ocean.
Because you would have you would have chucked it. You were like, yeah.
The thing is, I think I overthink when to let go. Like when I'm playing Frisbee and I try to throw straight. Yeah. Both emotionally and physically. I can't let go, which is why our house is full of junk.
You're a very stubborn lass. Yeah. I love you.
I love you too. But I either release way too early or way too late, and it like goes left or right instead of going straight. I can throw a ball like overhand, but everything else is not my jam. So I would have done that anyway.
Ben,
you're staring at me like I don't care.
Ben celebrates his victory. He gets very happy, but you get this camera shot that in the same moment as Ben stops celebrating and realizes that he has to start making a decision about the fire. There's that shot of Charlie behind him, earing up like a horror movie villain.
And they use a sting. They use like a horror sting. Like
really setting up the idea, the dread that all of a sudden has encroached into Ben's life.
Good job to the sound department on that one, to the
Great job. Team. So Ben has to decide who he's going to bring into the final 3 with him and who's going to make fire. He talks to Liz first, and he says to her that he thinks he can't beat Liz. He says that she has a lot of money. Liz agrees that she has a lot of money.
She repeats that she's a millionaire.
And Ben wants to put her in fire. Why do you think Ben actually sees her as a threat? Or do you think that was just all sort of a cover and all these sort of things because he wanted to bring at least one of his good pals, Charlie and Kenzie, into the final 3?
I think it's a combination of that, and it was the nicest way of saying, I do not want to give you $1 million. Everybody on this beach needs it more than you do. I don't know. For me, it's like I wouldn't want to bring someone who's constantly talking about how much money they have.
Yeah.
So why are you even here? Like,
it's also a convenient cover to say, I don't think I can beat you when the day previous you said to everybody, I can win. No, yeah, earlier that night or whatever it was, saying that, oh, I'm a massive threat.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with how confident she is, maybe Ben was worried that she'd be able to talk her way into it.
I think Ben is using it as a cover. I think he's using the money and all the stuff, and I think he was going to put Liz in the fire, and
yeah.
I think he's just giving a reason that she believes and that she has said.
He didn't want to say to her face, like, I want to bring my friends, and also I don't want to give you $1 million.
Yes.
Which, I mean, is a fair reason. Like, that's kind of, I don't know, it's really off-putting when, like, she's bragged about it multiple times. I feel like if you have a lot of money and you're in a game to win $1 million, maybe just don't talk about it around everybody else. Because, yeah.
Liz breaks down crying because of this. She knows that fire was the hole in her plan the entire time. Because of her bad wrist, she cannot make fire. Ben is struggling between picking Charlie and Kenzie. Charlie doesn't want to be doing the fire. Kenzie is sort of cracking under the pressure. Charlie's really good at it. Kenzie's typically good at it, but cracking under the pressure here. But Charlie doesn't want to go. He wants to get taken to the final 3. We get to the fire making. Liz again says she's a big threat.
Which the jury reactions to that were like, our reactions, like, what?
So much side eye, like Venus looking around like, I'm sorry?
You? What?
And then we get to the fire where it's Liz versus Kenzie. Ben decides he's going to bring Charlie into the final 3 with him and have Kenzie versus Liz. Liz gets lots of little flames, but nothing ultimately. Kenzie takes forever, but once she gets a flame, she automatically wins or eventually wins. Kenzie wins the fire. Liz is gone.
Big props to Kenzie for, she's obviously getting flustered in the moment and getting stressed, but taking that one moment to, like, take a deep breath and compose herself. And then she made the fire. Like, props to her for in the moment being able to just, like, do that. Obviously, like, it's a little bit easier when you see Liz is not really making anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, in the heat of the moment, it's not always easy to, like, what you really need is to calm yourself down. It's not always easy to do that. And that was impressive, I thought.
2 things. One, it was also fun to see Liz say fudge over and over and over again all throughout this beginning of the episode. And in this moment, Charlie's saying something under his breath to Kenzie of, put some little sticks in there, put some little sticks in there. And Liz snaps, turns to Charlie in that moment and says, Kenzie knows what the F she's doing. Doesn't say fudge.
No longer cares about fudge.
No longer cares. She's actually mad and she's doing all that stuff. She loses. She starts saying boo, tomato, and getting upset because she's like, I would have won. And Kenzie, I really like this, brings up how Yano, her tribe at the beginning, had no flint the entire first half up until the merge, and she really enjoyed the poetic justice that was provided here in this moment by winning the fire making challenge. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to, just Liz saying it was all over for you guys, I would have beat all of you. Like, no. No, you wouldn't.
So that's
like, that's also, like, kind of weird to say in this moment, but
agreed.
Cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I did really like the poetry of, like, her journey started with no fire for how many...
For half the game, basically.
Yeah, and ended with her winning fire.
Struggling with no fire.
Yeah.
And then ultimately a spark happens and she wins it.
But earning her spot with fire after so long of not having fire is very beautiful, I think. Great television.
So
great storytelling.
Liz goes home. This will be the post-mortem on Liz. What are your thoughts on Liz's game?
What game? Like, I'm legitimately, like, everything that I think Liz was a part, like, thought she spearheaded, like, she was just joining in on. I don't know. Like, I struggle to see where Liz would have won.
Yeah. Or
Like,
even what she believes was her great game.
Yeah.
What do you sort of think? Where do you think she struggled at, or where do you think she succeeded in? I don't know. She struggled every day.
Yeah.
There's an element of you have to hand it to her, and you have to respect the fact that she was able to go on here and survive for that long.
Yeah, I mean, she has endurance. Like, I'm not going to argue that like she made it through and probably had the worst time out of everybody.
There's the same element to Ben that I have with Liz, in the sense of more so Liz because it was just harder for her, seemingly, because of her diet and because of all these sort of issues with her, that both of them struggled every day. Liz not eating food, Ben not sleeping. You know, you almost have to respect that a little bit, you know?
Yeah, which I do. I just, in terms of intentional gameplay, I fail to see where that is for Liz. Someone explain it to me. What did Liz intentionally do in this game?
That's
the question. That's it. That's the question.
And that's a great setup. This is a clip. Let's have Liz answer that question, Jesse.
God, okay.
This is a clip, of course, from her post-game interview on the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube channel. Let's see if we can get the audio working here, and hopefully you'll be able to hear as well.
I'm not actually a millionaire. I went out on the island and I knew, like, oh, if I say I own a company, oh my gosh, it's like the season 45 lawyer curse, right?
Yes.
Oh, don't tell anybody you're a lawyer. Don't tell anybody you're successful. But I thought, well, I can't hide that. It's a huge part of my identity coming out of poverty. So what if I just exaggerated it? What if I said, hey, I'm large, I'm in charge, I'm worth millions. I'm just here on a dare from my daughter. Just like Rob just looked at me, go back 10 seconds. He's like, what? Right? That's the reaction that I purposely, very intentionally wanted, so that people would say, like, oh yeah, let's leave Liz alone. Like, let's use her for a vote. She's obviously smart, but she's never going to win. She's never going to make it. It's my intention at Final Tribal, and be like, actually, this, that, and the other, mostly exaggerated, not true. Actually a single mom. I support 3 households. Very similar to Kenzie's story. Give me the money.
That's the big reveal. Liz, not a millionaire.
But, like,
Liz, not a millionaire.
That backfired so hard.
Did it? She got to the Final Four.
But no one wanted to give her the money because she didn't need it.
Potentially one of the reasons Ben did not pick her and picked her to go into the fire was because she already had money.
Like, if that was the case, right? When Ben talks to you, like, maybe don't dig your heels in and say out loud again, I'm a millionaire. Like, maybe just let it ride.
Maybe that's the moment you tell Ben, this is my actual story. Because then that gives it Ben, oh, okay, you grew up in poverty and have to deal with all this stuff and you don't have money, just like me, as maybe a little more so than Ben, but you know what I mean? Like, would have been the moment for Liz to say something.
But even if she didn't, just maybe don't reiterate how much money you have, like, because it's a cover. Like, that's where you should drop it. Because all that did was twist the knife of making Ben feel better.
Yep.
Even if it wasn't the reason that he picked her to go into fire, it made him feel better about putting her in fire. Because he felt less guilty because Liz doesn't need the money. I feel like that backfired.
Are you shocked by that revelation?
I'm not shocked.
This whole time.
I'm honestly not entirely shocked. But I'm shocked that she thought that the way she did it would get her far.
She also tweeted out in the same, I think, day, quote, this is on her Twitter, at the Liz Wilcox 88. I'm not a millionaire. I said that to minimize my threat level and to make folks take me less seriously. It worked until it didn't. I'm actually a single mom supporting 3 households on just my income. That's one of the bombs I was planning on dropping at Final Tribal Council. I don't think that was necessary for her game. It definitely, I think, played a part of it, but I think just based off of her diet and her all these other things and how she acted and how she sort of things, that people didn't really take her that seriously.
Well, I mean, it helped that she was kind of pretending not to take the game seriously because...
Do you ever look for idols?
Well, because also, like, she's pretending like she doesn't really need this.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in all honesty, I think drop the whole thing about being a millionaire. Don't even bring that up. But
well, you got to bring it up.
No, I mean, you don't have to, but, like, maybe playing the game like she did where, like, oh, I'm just here on a dare. Like, I don't really, care. I think that part was the part that worked more for her than the reiterating to people that I'm a millionaire. I guess that kind of cemented it.
Yeah, I think that made it more believable is by saying, oh, I don't care about that. I don't really care because I'm a millionaire. I don't need the money. Just saying, I don't really care. People would be like, what the, okay, why? People want that why. And she gave the why. It was, I'm a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever she said.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she should have let it die by the time we got to Final 5. She shouldn't have brought it up again.
I think she should have brought up to Ben in that exact moment. Because if she knows that fire is what's going to ruin her game, and she's looking down the barrel of making fire, she needs to reveal that to Ben. She needs to drop that bomb here and now.
Yeah, because Ben's an emotional player.
Mm-hmm.
You use that. In a way. It sounds horrible, but, like, this is a game. You're going to use people.
100%?
Yeah, I think she should have... I agree. I think she should have said something to Ben. I don't think she should have doubled down on the I'm a millionaire in that moment. I think that's where it backfired.
Completely agree.
I don't think it truly... I mean, it annoyed people, I think, but I don't think it backfired on her until that moment. Because, again, Ben being an emotional player, making an emotional decision, a little bit of a logical decision, but mostly it was based on his emotions, and he admitted that. Definitely felt better and less guilty.
Yeah.
When she doubled down on I don't need the money.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. We get to the last day. We get, of course, the feast, and everyone's talking about these sort of ideas. Of course, we'll get to questions in a moment. We have a lot of stuff to get to in this final tribal council. But talking about it, each player talked about what they thought their strengths in the game were. Ben said it was his social ability, vibes, and honesty. And I want to take a point right here to we talked about this, that I think Ben winning immunity at the end here and then picking Liz to go out and then him hanging out last day with his 2 pals, Charlie and Kenzie, restored the vibes of a real crappy vibe season. We joked about Ben being all upset post-merge because the vibes were so great. He later says that post-merge or pre-merge was like summer camp. It was so much fun. He was having all this fun, and then he got into it, and then people started playing the game way too hard, way too seriously, way too emotionally, selfishly, egotistically, that it just, the vibes are ruined. And in this moment, Ben's sitting on the beach with his 2 pals. The vibes have been restored.
Yeah, all he wanted was to bring the vibes back to the island.
And he was able to bring it back by winning immunity.
I'm proud of him.
Proud of Ben that moment. He should have won just based on that alone. Kenzie, adaptability, good gameplay, good plays, I should say, and 1 fire making as a resume builder. Charlie, social ability, alliance, and hiding in the shadows is what he said. Do you feel confident? Do you feel like those are all good things?
Yeah.
Lots of jury talking heads of, quote, what did you actually do? So that's basically the jury as we get into the Final Trial Council, as everyone wants to know, what was your actual game? We don't know what you were doing. You were hiding in the shadows, or you, as, excuse me, as Soda eventually said, I thought Kenzie was just brought along. Ben, you just kind of hung out and were vibes all day. You know, what did you actually do, and why should I give you $1 million?
It's a lot of that, and then it's also a lot of Q not being able to let people talk, which was frustrating to watch.
Oh, you're talking about the actual tribal council questions?
Yeah.
Well, I got some of these questions. You want to hear some of them?
Sure.
So some summations, and we can talk about each one if you have any thoughts. Tiff starts off, no Taylor Swift, no rock and roll references. She lays the groundwork down. Interesting that she doesn't...
She's like, get serious, kids.
Interesting that she says it about Charlie and Ben, but not Kenzie.
Yeah, because the two of them are the ones that need a little reining in when it comes to serious talk.
But also, it's Tiff.
Yeah, Kenzie's her BFF.
What move did you make in the game that you think was your best move? Ben, tough question. Work with outsiders to get Q out is what basically he said. Charlie, I needed Maria and Q to use as shields. His big move was the Hunter vote. And Kenzie, I don't really know. I missed her answer because there was a massive argument about Q and Tiff and Kenzie about what her thing was.
Oh, because Q was like, oh, I never suggested Ben.
Yeah, I never really got exactly what her move was.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
Because she started talking about it, and then Q tried to correct her, and then Tiff was like, no, Q, you're wrong, and then it was just like all fighting.
Yeah.
So I never really got a clear answer on what that answer was.
Classic Yanu.
Classic Yanu. Venus, at what point did you capitalize on a mistake? Charlie, I voted Venus and screwed up, but I was able to get in the 6 because of it. Q then said, there's a moment where Maria says, well, I brought you into the 6. And he's like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And everyone sort of laughs about the 6, and Q has a great line. The 6 was a one-way ticket home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was funny, also coming from Q, because Q was one of the big people driving, voting out people within the 6. Tim, Tiff, Hunter.
Yeah. Tevin.
Pick your poison. Tevin. Pick your poison here. Kenzie's answer was telling Tiff not to play her idol. That was a mistake that she made in the game, was telling Tiff not to play the idol. She was lost in that vote. Tiff went home. She then had to rework her entire game and refocus so that she's able to win, be in this position that she's in now. Ben's bad mistake thing was the Kenzie vote, as everyone sort of talks about him being bad at the Kenzie vote. But also, he says that his bad Kenzie vote was basically because of eating pizza the night before and his lack of sleep.
Has he since post-show doubled down on whether or not that was a mistake?
I haven't seen anything about that. It's possible. I haven't listened to his interview, but it's possible. I legitimately do.
Because we know that Q said that he was supposed to vote Kenzie that time, right?
Yes.
So, which alludes to the fact that Ben might have been lying about it being an accident.
Yes.
Interesting.
So who the heck knows of these people? Tevin asked a question. How did you use us members of the jury? How did you use us to help your gameplay? Ben, I stuck with Q and Maria. I used that info that they would give to me to then give to tell Kenzie and tell other people, and basically use those sort of social relationships with Q and Maria and use it for strategy. That was basically how I used you. Kenzie, I worked with Q to gain trust and then got him out. You know, we talked about how the trick of like, oh yeah, it really came down to Liz and Kenzie really fooling Maria that ultimately was able to lead to Q going out.
Yeah, that was a good play on their part.
Charlie says that he used Tevin, which really shocked Tevin. And I wrote down he was the power play, and I have no idea what that means.
He used Tevin?
Yes, he used Tevin. I wrote down he was the power play, and I really don't know what that means. But we can move on because I
don't know what that means either.
Hunter asks Kenzie and Charlie specifically, who would you have put in fire? Kenzie says herself and Liz, exactly how it went down. Charlie says Kenzie and Ben. So Charlie thinks that he would have been able to beat Liz. Kenzie thought, oh, I need another thing in my resume. I need to beat somebody. Let me beat Liz, which I think is a good, safe answer. Charlie, again, Charlie not want to be put in fire. Charlie, in this answer, and obviously what we knew about beforehand, believes he doesn't need the fire making win at all.
Do you agree with that?
No, I just fully disagree. Obviously, we'll talk about it more, why it really hurt him in a moment when he ultimately loses. But I talked about how he definitely needed something more. He was missing something. And we talked about how even if they able to get Maria out, it's not like really him at this point that's wanting getting Maria out. It was like Kenzie also and Liz to a certain extent.
Getting out your number one at Final 5 is not as impressive
as Final 6 or 7.
Which is when he was originally going to get her out, but she got immunity. I think that would have been enough, to kind of put him over the edge. But because he didn't have that, he physically separated himself from Maria's game, but I don't think he made any moves or did anything after that that really, cemented that he was separating himself from Maria's game. I think he needed something. And I think, too, because he thinks that, maybe the Q, tricking her in the Q vote, but that was really Kenzie and Liz.
Yeah.
Charlie didn't have anything to do with fooling Maria in that point.
Agreed. Now, I will also say, though, I dislike how much the fire making plays into the final vote for the winner. And how much, you'd look at season 41, we didn't watch it, but that person basically was able to win because of, were they wearing fire making? I don't actually remember. We didn't watch it. But Gabler being a person was able to win because Cassidy didn't put herself in fire.
Yeah, which was stupid.
And people having this whole thing about fire being a big part of the game and that you should, if you win at fire making, then it's a big resume builder. I honestly don't like it, and I don't like it being that big of a resume builder. I understand that's one last challenge and people like it, but I think because of the close nature of the show and how everything, the fire making challenge happens and then they pick the winner the next day. It's
a last impression that sticks in their brain.
Exactly. And
it was the reason Maria voted for Kenzie.
Ultimately. And we'll talk more about that in a moment, but it's just this idea of I think it would have helped. Obviously it would have helped Charlie's game, but I just don't. I think relying on that as the vote of this is why I voted this person, this is what edged you out, I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. I think unless it's something where you win immunity and put yourself in making fire, because that is a risk.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I think
sure.
I don't think anyone should be expected to do that. I think Cassidy shouldn't have had to do that.
Yeah.
Or they shouldn't have expected Cassidy to do that. But I think if someone were to do that because they felt their game wasn't strong enough and they won, I would commend that because that's
taking a risk.
That's taking a risk, a big risk, and it paying off. But being put in fire and then winning fire, I think is just
asking to be put in fire and then winning it is just kind of okay. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
I sit back.
I also don't like how much weight people put on it.
Hunter asked the question, did you want to put yourself in? Charlie says, not really. Again, tripling down at this point. I don't want to play the fire. Soda, she gives her takes on all three people. I kind of laid out beforehand. And then you have 30 seconds to prove me right or wrong. Kenzie lays out that her social game was her strategy game, that she would use her social game to maneuver through her strategy. Charlie was her setup. Was to set up the demise of Maria. That was basically his big thing to counteract her take of you were just kind of with Maria. And Ben, you were too emotional. He says he used very emotional to make friendships. It was all part of his social game to a certain extent.
I think Soda's pretty spot on with most of them.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I hated the time limit.
Yes.
And cutting people off.
Yes.
That just annoys the shit out of me.
Yes. I don't want them to talk for so long.
Let them finish their sentence.
Yes.
Like, at least let them finish their sentence. Because that's fucking stupid. I just hated that.
Yeah, I didn't like that addition. Q asks, what do you want to do with the money? An important Q for this pertinent time. It's a fun little joke. Because Q later goes on in the post-game stuff and says that his decision was based off of this question, which was, what are you going to do with the money?
A fair question. You're about to hand someone $1 million.
Now, I do want to point out here if I find my notes. So Q going in, as he revealed also in the post vote, Q going in was going to vote for Charlie, right? He later says he flips his vote and he ultimately votes for Kenzie to win.
Yeah.
So this is his question. He says this was the reason why this is what Q says is the reason why he's voting for Kenzie. Ben says he's going to pay for his parents' retirement and help fund what he's been doing, which is importance in music education in Florida. And he thinks that's extremely important. I fully agree with Ben.
Yeah.
Charlie says helping a family, donating, and help paying for law school. Again, he's a young kid, about to have a bunch of money. He's about to be a lawyer. That's a whole big thing. And also, the sad reality of it also is, what a boring answer.
Yeah.
Nothing personal, like music education's personal to Ben and stuff. Charlie, family, donations, and law school. I mean, granted, he's still young, but still.
You know, fine. I mean, all of them, I think all of the things they were going to do with the money is valid. It does just make Kenzie's answer look better.
Kenzie said that
how boring Charlie's was.
Kenzie said that she went into this game on a selfish sort of thing. This is the first selfish thing she's ever done. So the money she's going to use is going to be strictly for her business, her hair cuttery, as people like to call them.
Salon.
I think hair cuttery.
That's a brand.
Hand cuttery.
Hand cuttery.
Uh-oh.
What is this? A wood shop?
What is this? Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah, that's a better joke.
Thank you. She says that her business is not for her. It doesn't seem like it's that profitable of a business, and that she doesn't want to be cutting bangs until she's 97 or whatever. So because of all that and how she's very nice, I guess, selfless in her business, she's going to be selfish and keep the money that will ultimately help her start her family. She's currently pregnant, as we know. Help her start a relationship. We need to pay for the wedding, all these sort of things. So she's going to keep all the money, basically, and very upfront about that, which I think is very respectful. And obviously, Q loved that answer because he ultimately went with Kenzie.
Yeah. How do we feel about a Kenzie win?
Oh, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I got more questions.
Drink some water.
We get the final moments, final statements. Charlie says he never had a closed door. He uses social ability to be very strategic. Kenzie, she was at every sanctuary, competed in every single challenge of the season. Ben wanted to be emotional, play the game I wanted to play. We then get to the votes. The vote comes down as a 5-3 decision. Kenzie gets 5, Charlie gets 3. Kenzie is your winner of Survivor Season 46.
Yay.
Now, what is your question, Beanie?
How do you feel about Kenzie winning?
I'm fine with it. Mm-hmm. I think she... I think I've been thinking about this a lot all weekend as we've been prepping for this recording session about how I weigh the 3 different aspects of Scurvivor: playing, sociability, and strategy. And to me, play is very obvious, and you can see how good players are in competition. Strategy, I'm really good at, like, I feel very confident in my ability to, like, figuring out people's strategy and figure out what they're trying to do. I say that being a Q defender this season for some reason, a Galaxy Brain Q defender. And I'm very hard at picking up social game of how good and social players are. And I've been watching a lot of stuff and sort of thinking about this, and And it really comes down to, and looking at like past seasons as well with winners. And I feel like it really comes down to social games being the biggest thing. The social game being the biggest thing. And from that, you could be, I think Charlie is a lot more strategic than Kenzie, but Kenzie came off very warm and welcoming, similar to like a Jam Jam or something in this tribal council, while Charlie came off more lawyerish, more robotic. And that, I think, is something to do with social game. Charlie's explaining his strategy, but Kenzie is saying, I use my social game and then moved my strategy throughout those social waters. On top of that, all the gameplay and all this sort of stuff is almost sort of a heat management, safety ability of winning immunity challenges, right? And if you win it, you can get a feather in your cap. But it comes down to, when you think about it, with the last several seasons, with like a Jam Jam, kind of with a Gabler to a certain extent, not really, but with a Jam Jam, with a Kenzie here, with a D as well, I would say. Especially,
I think the caveat with D is that like she was also a very strategic player.
Yeah, she's the most strategic
from
out
her
of the
social game.
She's more strategic than these people.
Won a lot of challenges. Like, I think she is a little bit different.
She was more strategic than I think Jam Jam and Kenzie were. But if it wouldn't, I don't think she wouldn't have lasted maybe as long if it wasn't with how strong her social game was with Austin, where she would get information from Austin and not give it to him and still be fine.
Nobody's going to last very long if people don't like you. That's the whole point of Survivor. Is like the whole social experiment of it is like you can like strategize and logistic the game all you want, but you ultimately have to remember this is a group of human people with feelings and emotions who are ultimately going to be swayed by those feelings and emotions.
Especially when it's a shortened season.
Yes.
I talked about this last episode where I feel like the shortened seasons play a massive part because they don't have time to sit and think about these things. A lot more of it is reactionary.
Yeah. And
fire making happened the day before.
Yeah. And I think like people sitting on the jury, like they may be fans, they may have a lot of like analytical brain about like how you should vote in Survivor, but when you're in it, like I imagine that it's a lot more emotional than you would think, especially if you're a fan of Survivor. Like I think people forget how much your connection to people influences your decision, whether you realize it or not.
Because what the weird thing about calling it a jury, by the way, it's a jury of your peers, obviously, that you voted out. But unlike a jury and the United States government process, this jury is allowed to be emotional.
Well, because they know you.
Because they know you.
There is a conflict of interest with every single member of the jury.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of this is like what happens when you put these people together, you pit them against each other.
You vote them out.
They're still going to form. It's like the idea that people will still form friendships despite all of that. And how far do those friendships go? How far does that social game go? I think it goes a lot further than people think. Like Kenzie is likable. Like Charlie and Ben are likable too.
Ben super likable.
Yeah, but Kenzie made genuine, like very strong connections with almost everyone on the island.
I think Ben is likable. Kenzie's relatable.
Yes, I would agree with that too.
And I think Charlie, who has had a good social game, I talked about Maria being a good whip. A good weapon she used that he used a lot was Charlie being the actual whip a lot of the times. Maria would have a lot of ideas, and Charlie would use a lot of his social ability. He had a lot of social stuff. He has a social game. He just doesn't really talk about it because he's talking strategy, whereas Kenzie is talking about both social and strat.
Yeah, you have to like it's a sales pitch essentially, and you know when you're selling somebody something, no matter what it is, like you can give them all the numbers and facts you want, but what's going to sway them one way or the other is relating it to themselves and seeing like them being able to relate to what you're saying. And I think that like it's knowing that, like, obvious that they would have picked Kenzie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm happy with it. I would have been happy, honestly, if any of the three of them won.
Sure.
I would have been kind of shocked if Ben won, but I wouldn't have been upset about it. But I would have been happy with a Charlie win too. But I'm excited that Kenzie won.
I share in Ben's sentiments of being proud that he never quit. I think that's the win. It doesn't matter if he won the $1 million or not. I think that's the win. I was leaning for Charlie as my pick, but again, I think that's partly because I have a tough time picking up on people's social games, and that's something I want to try to bring in the mindset next season of Scurvivor and try to figure out more of like people's socials games and all these sort of things. Because I think both had it, but Kenzie was just more relatable in that extent.
Yeah.
Whereas Charlie came on here like he was a trial, and he was on trial, kind of. And he was just a little too cold. Yes, Kenzie.
Just a little bit.
Kenzie gets the win 5-3. There are many aspects to this I want to talk about here. Number one is the pre-tribal council, because we are able to reveal who voted for whom. Charlie got votes from Soda, Hunter, and Liz during the actual tribal council. Kenzie got it from Q, Tiff, Maria, pinned in that, Venus, and Tevin. We do get Jeff asking who changed their vote during tribal council. Q, Venus, Hunter, Liz, and Soda all raise their hands, which, if you want to look at it, pre-tribal council would mean that going into that tribal council, Q and Venus were going to vote for Charlie, and Tiff, Maria, Tevin, Hunter, Liz, and Soda all were going to vote for Kenzie. So that would have been a 2-6 split. So that means Charlie was able to gain a person, but also he lost Q and Venus, but he was able to convince Soda, Hunter, and Liz to move over to his camp. So, good job, bad job. You lost 2 people, but you gained 3. There's something there for Charlie. But it was ultimately Tiff and Tevin and, weirdly enough, Maria.
Yeah, that was a shock.
That landed the vote here for Kenzie. Let's talk about Maria. Charlie was very shocked by Maria's vote. He does say that he honors that the jury picks the right winners, and he believes in that. Maria gives her reasoning of why she didn't vote for Charlie, and she says it was basically that she saw the fire in Kenzie's eyes during the fire-making challenge, which of course was literal because there was actual fire in her eyes.
That's a reflection, babe.
Yep. And in that competitive spirit, that won her the vote. She later said on Rob Has a Podcast about how not just the fire in her eyes and all this sort of stuff, but also knowing that she wanted to become a mother, and her being a mother of 3 herself, wanting to help that along as well, mother to mother, and that was part of it. But the other lessons also learned here is that it was later told, I believe on the podcast as well, that if Maria voted Charlie, it would have been a 4-4 split, and Ben said that in that instant, he would have voted for Charlie.
So, it's Maria's fault.
Now, there's a lot of things to unpack here. Before I tell you the fandom's reaction to that vote, what is your reaction to Maria not voting for her number 1 ally all game, not voting for, hey, if Charlie's game is similar to Maria, then why did Maria not vote for her game to win Survivor? What do you think about Maria voting for Kenzie, giving her the win, and not giving it to her number 1 ally, Charlie?
I honestly respect it, because that says to me that, like, it probably wasn't an easy decision, A, and B, she put more thought probably into the vote than most people, because, like, the easy thing is to be biased and to vote for the person that you like the best and that you've had the best relationship with.
Tiff.
But to actively choose someone else, I think is hard. It's a harder decision. And I honestly think it weighs more with me of, like, it makes me think that she put a lot of weight in, like, the different aspects of her decision, like in the different aspects of their game. I don't know.
I also say
it could have also just been an impulse decision. I don't know, but
it also said, like I said, I don't like how much weight she's putting in fire making, and she's pretty much directly saying the fire making was the choice here. Going back to Charlie not putting himself in, this Charlie not putting himself in. As much as you want to yell at Maria about this, if Charlie was in fire and won it, in theory, Maria would have voted for Charlie.
Yeah. I think that, like, it's the obvious vote was for her to vote for Charlie, and to go against that, I think proves that she like really thought about it and was willing to go make the hard vote, I think. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
So the fandom reaction was extremely negative to Maria. Extremely negative, so much so that Charlie had to go out on Twitter and be like, look, I'm obviously upset about this, but do not take this out on Maria. People were attacking her online.
Why? Because she said she was going to vote for him?
Yeah, basically, stabbing your friend in your back and all these sort of things. A lot of vitriol towards Maria based on this decision. I
don't think you should be obligated to vote for your friends.
I agree.
I think the fact that she didn't vote for her friend means that, like, she really felt strongly about her decision. Like, other than just, I'm going to default vote for my friend, which is, I don't know. Then what's the whole point of them pleading their cases at the end if everyone's just going to vote for their friends?
I agree. I think of also a very emotional season for a lot of people, and I think the fandom takes that on as well. Now, I don't know this for a complete fact, but I believe they did have fun and took pictures at Ponderosa and all these sort of things, which is the Fiji resort afterwards. But I'm not 100% on this, but more than 50% that Charlie and Maria no longer are friends and do not hang out with each other post Survivor, and that relationship is completely burnt. That they're no longer. He is not Uncle Charlie. He is not a thing in her life post Survivor. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty much more than 50%, possibly more than 75% at that being fact.
Well, I mean, it's probably still pretty fresh. Like, let it settle. I don't know.
There's a lot of online stuff. Charlie taking an emotional shower video, reciting Taylor Swift lyrics about how your friend stabbed you in the back or whatever, saying POV when your friend doesn't vote for you and you lose out on $1 million. And then he defends Maria for everybody gunning for her. And Maria apparently said something like, well, he still posted that video. So they're not friends, apparently.
I mean, she is right. Like, you open that door, you can't expect people to not agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, there's something to be said to, like, it does suck that she said, you literally have my vote, and, like, then didn't vote for him. But at the same time, I think people should be allowed to change their minds. And I think that you shouldn't be obligated to vote for your friends if you feel like that's not the vote you want to make. Like, you have the ability to vote for whoever you want.
I agree. I
think that, yeah,
it's understandable.
I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt. Yeah, it does hurt. But I don't think that she did anything wrong other than saying maybe she shouldn't have said, you definitely have my vote.
Now, is this a case of Maria defending herself and coming off worse than she means to?
You mean in the post?
Yeah,
world?
in her explanation, calling back to rock, paper, scissors, calling back to blaming everybody else. Is this another moment of Maria I'm being devil's advocate here. Is this another moment of Maria trying to explain herself but coming off worse than she
I don't think she comes off worse, in my opinion, because it's not like it's an act of contradiction like the other one was. Mm-hmm. The other one was, you tried to explain something, but it was actively untrue. This is just like, okay, that's what swayed her decision.
A big old Bubba bear over there.
There's a cat digging into my butt. Oh my god.
He wants to get on the top. He wants to get on the top.
Ow. Okay, but I just think that she clearly changed her mind, and I think she has every right to change her mind, and I think her explanation is her explanation. I don't, like, the other one was a situation where she literally, like, the explanation she gave was an obvious contradiction to the decision she made. I don't think that's the case here.
Yeah. last bit of post-game talk before we talk about post-mortems and all these sort of season overviews and all these sort of other things we have to talk about is that big-time drama between Venus and Q and everybody else, where Venus claims that at Ponderosa it became a clique with Tevin at top and everyone bullying her like it was high school. Everyone sort of denying that to a certain extent and calling out Venus, so much so that she deactivated her Twitter for all the responses she was getting, and everyone just sort of talking about how she is sort of that what she's saying wasn't true, that isn't what happened, and she's, you know, all these sort of things. In some ways, it goes back to this the idea we kind of talked about last season, and this is my opinion, and I want to know what your thoughts are too, Beanie. But this is my opinion, but I think based off of her preseason press of how she views herself, what happened on the island versus what we saw on television versus what she was saying about being bullied and all these sort of things and people reaction. And Ponderosa, I think bullying is legit, I think bullying is a legit issue and all these sort of things, and that we should take it seriously. However, I also think there is enough evidence to suggest that Venus is a little bit of an unreliable narrator and sees the world differently than how things actually are, especially when it comes to herself. So I cannot believe, personally, everything she says, especially when you have, 8, 9, 10 other people saying differently. I'm just unsure. But she has since deactivated her Twitter, and she is no longer posting tea, hot goss online after everyone sort of said she's lying and being ridiculous, all these sort of things. Do you have any thoughts on that? You don't have to, obviously. I wanted to bring that up.
I don't know. I feel like we don't know.
We don't know what actually happened.
I don't feel like I could have a concrete opinion either way. Like, one party's lying. There's not enough evidence to know which one is fact.
Yeah.
Like, we can guess. I mean, here's the thing. The Nami tribe, like, I feel like there was a lot of... I feel like they're all unreliable narrators.
That's fair.
I don't feel like Venus is the only one.
I think there's a lot of big egos this season.
For sure. And I think there was a lot of lack of awareness, at least from what we saw on TV.
Yeah.
I don't think they're all completely reliable narrators, to be fair. I think in this case, it just happens that 4 of them or 5 of them or whatever have one opinion and one person has a different opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I think it's equally likely that either one is telling the truth.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I also bring this up because I think social media is dumb, and reading all this and learning all this after the fact is upsetting, and there's no reason to know all this information. You know what I mean? Like, watching the season and enjoying the season, but then also knowing, like, oh, there's this stuff happening and they're not friends anymore and all these sort of these strands all falling apart. I'm just like...
The real life coming into play?
Yeah, it's like, I don't care about that. I'm here to watch television. I'm here to talk about the television show. And I don't want to bring reality into my reality show.
TV show.
Because at the end of the day, I'm watching a reality TV show. It's not fully real. And there's real life stuff that could or could not have happened to these people, could have been valid, potentially valid. It is just, there is a lot of different egos, a lot of different stories being told. And I would prefer to, on this podcast, talk about the stories of the season 46 of Survivor that we saw.
Is this just because you found out that Dee and Austin aren't dating anymore and you're sad about it?
No.
I'm honestly not sure still. I don't believe it, but that's fine.
Season 46 overview. What do you think of this season of Scurvivor?
Definitely entertaining. Like we said, the finale was boring.
Yeah. We skipped over a lot of things because it was extremely boring. It wasn't, in terms of boring as in exciting as compared to whatever it said.
Yeah.
There was a comment I saw online that said that the reason this season was so exciting because it was a bunch of people bad at playing. It was a bunch of people playing Survivor badly.
Not people quitting. People just sticking it out and playing poorly.
And being like so stuck in the mud over things and so stubborn.
Yeah.
Like, I thought so many people got distracted by various different things. Q, I think, was playing a solid game and then did the Q bomb for no reason, which ruined his game.
Yeah, there was a lot of good, well-intentioned gameplay that just blew up in their faces.
And they couldn't handle it. No one could handle it.
No one could handle it. And no one could play a fucking idol.
Obviously, a big problem with this season.
Just oh my gosh. Which is like...
It's real bad. It's real bad.
It's like delay. It's like no one taking risks, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are playing it safe, but then they play it too safe and they go home. Well, it was a lot of playing it safe, I feel like.
I don't know if it was playing it safe. I would argue that they were risking... Playing safe would have been playing their idol. Risking and thinking that they're... I think it's more of like an overconfidence and thinking that you're so good at your game that you don't have to play your idol and I can save it for another episode or
Which
two.
I think the only real successful moment of that was the first time that Tiff didn't play her idol.
Correct. When Hunter went home and didn't play his.
Yeah. That was, I think, a great defensive move, but then she should have played it the next time.
Then she got greedy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of people like... I think there's a lot of big egos this season and big overconfident stuff that made it so that a lot of people were not great at playing this season, but I think the entire season, for the most part, was extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
We cannot forget, though, those last 2 or 3 episodes pre-merge of Banu.
Oh my God.
And how awful that started to become.
Banu was this year?
Yes.
It feels like ages ago.
Banu was so annoying right before the merge. That last episode where Banu goes home and he's still here, still around, and it's still the Banu story, and then the 5 stages of grief and all this sort of nonsense.
Like great television, but like
great television, but also
the moments of it were great television.
Yes. The overarching of 5 episodes of it was too much.
So annoying.
I was overindulged with Banu. Seeing someone beg for their life is great television, but within the context, it's like you started to feel with Tiff and all these other players you started feeling embarrassed for him.
Yeah.
And started getting frustrated because of that embarrassment. But I thought there was a lot of fun moments. The hide and seek was fun.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was a cute little spot. I think Hugh was a very funny character.
Did you notice it in the finale? He was wearing the Q skirt.
I did.
Yeah.
Available wherever hoodies are sold. I thought, the mermaid dragon, Kenzie getting the win was a nice little touch here. I liked Charlie and Maria being the only friendship that can survive the island, but as soon as they get off the island, their friendship doesn't. The irony there, I think, is kind of funny. I like the season a lot. As much as the downs were, the highs post-merge I thought were really fun. Every episode to me was captivating.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a fun season. Could have done with a little bit less Banu. Could have done with a little more Jess.
Could have done a little more Jess.
If only she had gotten some sleep.
Mm-hmm. She transferred that lack of sleep to Ben.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of where you rank it in terms of the various seasons we've watched? 45 being D, 44 being Jam Jam, 43 being Gabler, and 42 being Marianne.
It might just be because it's the first season of Survivor I ever watched, but I think I like the Marianne season.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think maybe this one.
That's
the D season.
That's where I'm kind of leaning.
And then Jam Jam, and then Gabler.
Yeah, I think Gabler... it's Jam Jam, D, and this season where I'm kind of fluctuating, but it's Gabler last and 42 first for me.
Yeah.
I gotta think about it more. We don't have to do postmortems on Charlie and Ben and all these other people because we already kind of talked about them. Any other stuff we want to talk about for this season before we get to points and winners of the Scurvivor Series team off? Team off? That's not the name of it. Any other thoughts on the season?
No.
No. Good season.
Good season. I think I'm glad no one quit. No one quit this season, right?
I don't think anyone quit this season.
Do you remember Jelinski?
Jelinski. Oh, Jelinski. Speaking of, we did get a sneak peek of episode 47. So that's 47. My apologies. So that was fun. Yeah, I think there's fun stuff. I think captivating is the best word I would use to describe this season. Even when it was frustrating to watch, I was still captivated by what Bonnie was doing on my screen.
Had to watch it.
It's because it started becoming watching a car crash, where it's like you cannot not look at it, even though you know it's bad.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a car crash element in there.
Yeah, crash TV. That's what it sort of became.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about points then. Since we're in the final point tallies here, I lost handily.
We're not picking MVPs, right?
No MVPs. No MVPs. I don't know. My MVP pick is Kenzie for winning the game.
Yeah.
My MVP is Liz for there's no point doing the MVPs here.
Okay.
So let's here. I'm obviously done. I'm out. I got nobody left in this game on my team. Your team was Kenzie and Ben. Jerry, who couldn't make it on this episode. We apologize for no Jerry. We promised that we were going to have Jerry, and we ended up not having her. Going to the finale had Charlie, Maria, and Liz. So the final five are all alive across your two teams. Mm-hmm. Jesse, give us some points.
All right, so we're going to start with Ryan's points. Okay, and now we're moving on to Jerry's points.
How rude.
Maria. This is a surprisingly low-scoring episode for Jerry. Despite having one person in the final three, and having three people up until then. Maria, 10 points for voted out unanimously. Liz, 10 points. Cried on camera, said a curse word. Charlie, 23 points. Came in second place and survived the week. And that's a total of 43 points for Jerry.
Correct. 43 points. Not a great number. 43. Would love to obviously be that higher if I were Jerry. But she's had so many high point tallies in the past several episodes that in the past 3 episodes that she might still be okay. What were your points?
Okay, so I had Ben with 38 points.
Jesus Peasus immediately.
Came in third place, won individual immunity, cried on camera, chosen for reward, and survived the week. And then I have Kenzie.
The winner. A lot of points. A lot of points for the winner.
Came in first place, won individual immunity, won individual reward, cried on camera, won a fire making challenge, survived the week for a whopping 78 points. I had a total of 116 points from my 2 people this episode.
Yeah.
It does help that there were 2 challenges in this episode and basically a tribal and then another tribal, sort of. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
She was able to knock everything off that list, though. Fire making win, first place win, individual immunity, individual reward. Mm-hmm. She's able to get a lot of points on the board for that. So yeah, how many? What's it? 116 points? You say? Yeah, a lot of points.
So going into this, who was in first?
Jerry was in first. Okay. Going into this. You haven't gotten over 100 points. The only time anyone ever got over 100 points was only you twice. This episode 13, and the first episode we tallied points, episode 2.
Yeah.
130. So you're the only person that's ever gotten above 100 in one episode.
Yeah.
For their first and last. So good job, Jess.
Thank
We'll start off with third place. Obviously, I got no points this episode. So in third place with an average of 42.2 points across every episode, with 506 total points is Ryan. It's me. I'm the big old loser, the big old stinky loser here. In second,
I still love you.
and I think we'll say first. I won't say second. I think we'll say first. We don't need the dramatic effect here. In first place, the winner of Scurvivor Season 46 for the Scurvivor Series team, the winner, with an average of 52.5 points across the season, and a total of 630 points, is Jesse Dubiowski. Yes. Jesse, you have won Scurvivor Series. Your team was the best.
2 seasons in a row.
I think you've won every season that we've done this.
We've only done it twice.
We've only done this twice?
I think so.
Oh, well, good job.
And I've won both.
Good job,
I put a
Beanie.
lot of thought into building my team. And I just want to, I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back here.
You are.
But both seasons.
You're allowed to. You are.
I have won. I have not changed my team at all. I put a lot of thought into the initial judgment of the people. And I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that.
So you had Kenzie, Randon, Soda, Tiffany, Tim. You did add a sixth person somehow with Ben.
Oh, because my person got medevaced out.
We allowed you to swap in Ben?
Oh, maybe I did actually swap somebody.
Yeah.
At the merge.
Because somehow, how'd you have Ben on your team?
Oh, because I swapped Tim.
You swapped Tim out for Ben.
Okay, so maybe I'll take that previous statement back. I will rescind that.
You better walk.
I'm gonna rescind that.
So
I am so glad that I swapped out Ben.
Yeah, swapped out Tim
because
for Ben.
How many points did Jerry get?
Jerry got. Thank you for second place. Jerry got 47.1 points on average, 565. So between Jerry and I, that's a difference of 59 points. And between you and Jerry, that's looking like a difference of 90 points. As I quickly do math, that's a difference of 65 points. I was off. So big old difference between you and Jerry here of 65 points. Total of 565. So, you had a point. You had something else you were going to say?
Well, I was just going to say I'm really glad I swapped out Ben because I feel like over time he got me more points than Tim would have, obviously.
I mean, Tim, you would have gone into the finals with only one person. It ultimately would have been Kenzie.
And the last, 6 episodes?
But you had 21, 36.
I would have had
barely anything. Because you were out.
Yeah.
As soon as Tiff was gone, you would have been screwed. Because Tiff would have been your last person. And it was Tiff, and then Venus. No. Tiff, and then who was other? I think it was Venus. It was Tiff, and then Venus, and then Q. And then Maria. Yeah, you would have been out like a bunch of points for several episodes if you did not swap out Tim for Ben. So that was a good call on you. Like I said, your team was Kenzie, Randon, Soda, Tiffany, Tim, and Ben. Those are the 6 people that got you through the season, and those are the people that got you the victory. So good on you.
I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I definitely thought Tim was going to make it further because I thought that people were going to be like, forget to vote him out.
Sure.
But I think Ben was the one that they forgot to vote out.
Correct. In case you're wondering, the difference between you and I in points, 124. Yeah, big old loser, big old egg on my face.
Well, to be fair, I made up most of that in one episode.
Yeah. There was so much egg on my face, it was an omelet.
I love you.
I love you too.
Good job to you both.
Good job, Jerry, as well.
Yeah. One day you'll keep up with me.
Yeah. So good job. You win this season. This has been season 46 of Scurvivor series, of Survivor. This has been the latest season of Scurvivor series. Make sure you don't get sick like we have so many billion times. Jesse, any final thoughts before we return for season 47? Do you think we'll remember the term 40 several? which is when's the next season?
I think we will say 47 like at least 6 or 7 times before we remember the joke.
Yeah, I think that's plausible. I think it's plausible.
Yeah. I don't have any final thoughts other than like I'm satisfied with the ending of this one. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm happy.
No premiere date set yet, but people are believing Wednesday, September 25th as the potential date because it sort of circles the typical start date for the fall.
Okay.
So we'll be back in September.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get renewed for another season.
Yeah, we got to talk to our producers about that.
They're in the room right now. They're very hungry and tired and want to go to bed.
They're very annoyed and demanding. They constantly want us to feed them. I think they're supposed to feed us.
You would think.
Honestly, don't the producers have the money? But like, we're paying rent for these guys. I don't know. This is a weird situation that we're in. We're like, this is their house, but like, we pay for it.
Yeah, whenever I come into the room, one of the producers slams their paw on a boombox, and then all of a sudden I hear, "Welcome to my house." Oh, jeez. We really barely made it to the end of the season.
We crashed. Don't get sick, people.
Don't get sick, people.
Don't get the flu shot.
Get the flu.
Don't get the flu.
Anyways, thank you everybody for listening to the season of Survivor Series. We'll be back. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast if you have not, because we'll be back in September, early September probably, with the next season of Scurvivor. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you make sure you don't miss it when we relaunch in the fall. That has been Jesse Dubiowski.
Yo.
I've been Ryan Knightsey. We thank everybody for listening to this season of Scurvivor Series. Until next time, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.